tower mansions are the best. Definitely made the right decision to sign the contract. Tower mansions? What are you talking about? I'm talking about the house we're going to live in. What are you on about? He said this with a big smile, but I didn't understand what he meant. I had never heard such a conversation before. That money is?
Yeah.
That's right. It's the insurance money left by my previous husband. Then, the intercom rang. His mother-in-law was standing there. Mother-in-law? Why are you here? I'll come in. The mother-in-law walked into the house. Been waiting for you, Mom. You mean that matter, right? Yes, that's right. Well, have a seat. From the interaction, it appeared that the mother-in-law also knew about the tower mansion. I was the only one left out of the loop. Then, my husband said something outrageous. We'll be living in the tower mansion, the three of us. I can't just agree to this all of a sudden. If that's the case, it's fine if we get divorced. I don't mind. I was speechless at his incredible selfishness. Then, the mother-in-law also started mocking me with a grin. There's no need to be surprised. You'll take care of all the housework, okay? Not only had he signed a contract for the tower mansion, but he was also treating me like a housekeeper. I had supported us by balancing work and household chores, but I had reached my limit. I went to the bedroom, took something out of the drawer, and showed it to my husband and mother-in-law. What's this? It's a divorce paper. My name is already on it. It was a good thing I had prepared it in advance. Both my husband and mother-in-law looked at each other in shock. After that, I divorced my husband and moved abroad. The revenge didn't end there. This is just the beginning. What awaited my husband and his family was a far too great a consequence. I am Susan, and I turned 40 last month. Currently, I work at a securities company. I became deeply interested in investing during college. That's when I met my first husband. Hey, want to grab a meal sometime? Sure. Where shall we go? I found a nice place recently. Look forward to it. We continued as good friends. And he proposed to me around the time of our college graduation, and we got married. My husband was an investor and had a decent amount of assets. However, he never bragged or felt content with just that. I think it was truly a happy time. Your husband has been in an accident. Please come to the hospital immediately. It was right after I finished work and was heading home. I rushed to the hospital, but my husband was already cold. My mind went blank, and I don't remember much after that. I was 30 years old at that time. For several years after losing my husband, I couldn't accept reality and just let time pass. I inherited his assets, but honestly, it didn't matter to me. Are you okay? Oh, yes, I'm fine. You don't seem fine, though. The one who kindly spoke to me was Kevin, a senior colleague at my company and now my husband. At that time, I was grieving the loss of my first husband, but I also felt lonely. He listened to my complaints and stories without ever finding them troublesome. In hindsight, I might have been an easy target back then. How about we go out for a meal sometime? Oh, yes. I found a good place, but it's hard to go alone. I felt at peace when I was with Kevin. Our relationship continued, and he proposed to me when I was 34. I accepted. I hadn't forgotten my first husband, but I indeed wanted support. I told my parents, but one person was against it. But I've made up my mind. I'm worried. Are you sure he's okay? What do you mean? Isn't he just after your money? That's not a problem. We haven't even talked about that. My sister, who lived abroad, was unmarried and enjoyed her single life. I admired her, but I wanted someone by my side. Eventually, my sister seemed to accept it, and my married life with Kevin began. However, there was one concern. It was the presence of the mother-in-law. Susan, from now on, you'll follow my instructions. Though we weren't living together. She suddenly said this when she visited our new home and then just left. Huh? Sorry about that. I didn't expect her to say something like that. Don't worry about it. Okay. At that time, I managed thanks to my husband, but since then, she regularly came to nag and then left. One weekend, she said something unexpected. By the way, Susan, you were widowed from your first husband, right? Yes, that's right, but what kind of person was he? I thought it was a very insensitive question, but I answered to avoid more trouble later. Well, my first husband was an investor. Investor? So, he must have made a lot of money, right? No, I don't think it was that much. That can't be true. Kevin was nearby, and the moment I mentioned the word investor, he turned to look at me eagerly. Oh, could you make some tea? Yes. While I was preparing tea in the kitchen, I could see the two of them talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the mother-in-law was grinning. I felt a chill at that moment. Susan, is the tea ready yet? Sorry, I'll bring it right now. I returned to them, but their demeanor had changed to normal. Later, the mother-in-law left after some casual conversation. Then, while preparing dinner, why didn't you tell me, huh? About your first husband? Well, I just thought it wasn't necessary to talk about. Does that mean you don't trust me? Why would you think that? I just didn't think it was necessary to mention. However, Kevin's irritation didn't subside. At that time, I couldn't understand why he was so irritated. I will find out a bit later. From that day on, Kevin's attitude towards me became harsher. How was work today? Not great. I'm feeling sick, so I'll take the day off. Oh, okay. Kevin started taking more days off. Since we worked at the same company, colleagues asked me why he was absent. But I just said he wasn't feeling well. However, thinking back to the previous day, it was clear that he was faking his illness. I was anxious all day at work, wondering what he was up to. When I got home. What is this? The room was overflowing with stuff. Hey. What are you doing? Just looking for something. But I can't find it anywhere. Should I help you? Then Kevin suddenly raised his voice. Susan, don't do anything. Don't touch anything. I was taken aback by his sudden outburst. So, you're feeling better? My health? Oh.
Yeah.
Much better. I've been resting all day. I immediately realized. Kevin was using a fake illness to stay home and search for something. Moreover, it seemed to be something he didn't want me to find. This situation happened a few more times. Then, unable to find what he was looking for, my husband tried a new tactic. I'll be late today, going to the beauty salon, so I'll be back around evening. Oh, got it. Take your time. Okay. He seemed unusually happy. It seemed like he was delighted that I was going out. When I finished my errands and returned home, I could hear voices inside. It was clear that someone besides my husband was inside. Cautiously, I opened the front door. I'm home. I heard a voice from inside saying,
Oh no.
as soon as I entered. Oh, welcome back. You're early. Well,
Yeah.
is someone here?
Yeah.
It's my mom. Your mother? Then, the mother-in-law showed her face. You're back already? The mother-in-law looked disappointed. I decided to ask her a question. Did you find what you were looking for? Looking for? Yes. That's why you came today, right? I thought Kevin had asked his mother for help because he couldn't find it by himself. You knew? Then Kevin interjected. Mom, you don't need to say anything unnecessary. And Susan, don't ask too much. For some reason, I was the one who got scolded. Why do I have to be spoken to like that? I didn't do anything wrong. You don't need to interfere in this, it's none of your business. That's right. Susan, it's none of your business. The mother-in-law, who was quiet until now, seemed ignited by Kevin's words. Enough. Can't you go somewhere else? But this is my house. Kevin is right. You should stay outside until we say it's okay. See? Just as my mom says, please leave. I was forcibly pushed out by my husband and locked out of the house. They even put the chain on the door. Feeling helpless, I decided to consult with my sister. She's always reliable in times like this. Hello? Sister? It's rare to get a call from you, Susan. What's up? Actually, I explained everything that had happened to my sister. At first, she listened silently, but even she seemed furious at the behavior of the two. That's not normal. But why would they do that? My sister groaned as she thought about it. Then, it seemed like she realized something. Maybe they're looking for something related to your first husband's inheritance. You mentioned he was an investor, right? Oh. Everything seemed to connect. Indeed. Their behavior had changed abruptly after that conversation. It looks like you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
After ending the call, I killed some time before returning home. The house was unlocked, so I went inside. The mother-in-law had left already. Sorry about earlier. It's okay. I'm not worried about it. Okay. He seemed relieved, but inside, I was burning with anger. For a while, they behaved themselves, but it was clear they hadn't given up. That's why I acted immediately. I deposited the passbook with the assets from my late first husband in a safe deposit box. I thought this would keep it safe, as only my sister and a close friend knew about it. This should keep it hidden from them and safe. Furthermore, I prepared a divorce paper so I could leave anytime. However, I didn't want to be the one to initiate the divorce. So I was waiting for the right moment. Before I knew it, I was 40 years old. The one place where I felt at peace was at work. Are you going out today?
Yeah.
Mom wants me to help with her shopping. Have a good time. He started going out with his mother every week. It was obvious they were planning something without telling me. At this point, I was almost hoping they would cause some trouble. The mother-in-law also began inviting me to her house frequently. I want to tidy up a bit. Help me out, will you? Okay. Start with the shed outside. The mother-in-law lived alone in an old-fashioned house. It would be difficult for her to manage everything by herself. However, I felt it was strange she had never asked for such help before. They're up to no good again. I worked hard to clean up the shed. It hadn't been sorted for years and was overflowing with dust and garbage. After hours of cleaning, she then asked me to clean inside the house. Come on, don't just stand there. Get moving. There's still plenty to do. She said this but only gave instructions from the living room. I could have complained, but I knew it would only make her angry, so I held back. I thought it would be useful to save this for the right time. I'm done with everything. Okay, you can go home now. I glared at her, not even a word of thanks. What's with that face? Nothing. If you have a complaint, just say it. I have none. You know how to irritate me. I thought the same about her. Continuing like this would drive me insane. From then on, I started refusing her requests by making up reasons. However, the mother-in-law didn't like this and reported it to my husband. I heard you've been refusing mom's requests lately. I can't always be going over there. She's your mother-in-law, after all. Then why don't you go? You're her son, after all. What? Despite his continued complaints, I didn't pay much attention. Getting involved in every little thing was just too exhausting. Then, one weekend, my husband, who had made it a habit to go out, returned home with an unusual expression. I braced myself, sensing something was up. Welcome back. We need to talk. Please sit down. Talk? I was in the middle of preparing dinner. I stopped what I was doing and sat down on the sofa. He had a smirk on his face. Tower mansions are the best. Signing that contract was the right move. Tower mansions? What are you talking about? About the house we're going to live in. What about you? He said this with a broad smile, but I didn't understand. I had never heard such a conversation before. And he shouldn't have the money to buy such a thing. Where did you get the money?
Yeah.
From the insurance money left by your previous husband. Then the intercom rang. The mother-in-law was standing there. Mother-in-law? Why are you here? Let me in. She walked right into the house. Been waiting for you, Mom. About that matter, right? Yes, that's right. Have a seat. From their exchange, it seemed the mother-in-law knew about the tower mansion. I was the only one left out. Then my husband said something outrageous. We'll be living in the tower mansion, the three of us. You can't just spring that on me. If you don't like it, we can get divorced. I don't mind. I was speechless at his selfishness. Then the mother-in-law also started mocking me with a grin. It's not surprising. You'll take care of all the housework, okay? Not only had he contracted the tower mansion, but he was also treating me like a maid. I had supported us by balancing work and household chores, but I had reached my limit. You don't think I could buy something like that, do you? Yes, I do. But it's not me who's paying for it. You mean me? Exactly. You must be hiding the inheritance from your previous husband from us, right? We couldn't find it, but we realized we don't need to find it. That's awful. Say whatever you want. They had changed their strategy, realizing they couldn't find the inheritance. But they were mistaken if they thought I would just comply. I went to the bedroom, took something out of the drawer, and showed it to my husband and mother-in-law. What's this? It's a divorce paper. My name is already on it. It was a good thing I had prepared it in advance. Both my husband and mother-in-law looked at each other, shocked. They probably never imagined I would resort to such a measure. If you do this, you'll be the one to regret it. Are you sure? Yes. I've been looking for the right time to divorce for a while now. Think it over. Doing this won't make anyone happy. It's too late for that. I've already made up my mind. Then do whatever you want. Kevin. Are you serious? Calm down a bit. It's useless to talk to her anyway. This was convenient for me. Then could you sign it now? It's okay, for you, right? Fine. I'll sign it. He signed the paper and stamped it, ignoring his mother's advice. Such a foolish man, making decisions based on temporary emotions. Thank you. I'll file this. If you're satisfied, then leave as soon as possible. I was going to do that anyway.
Goodbye,
mother-in-law. Wait, Susan. I left the house. For the time being, I checked into a hotel to think about what to do next. It had been a long time since I felt this calm. Then, I contacted my sister. I wanted her advice on what to do next. I need some advice. Calling me must be about your husband and mother-in-law. You always see right through me. So, what happened this time? Actually, I'm thinking about getting a divorce. I already have the papers. I see. She wasn't surprised. She probably thought it was only a matter of time. I can't outdo my sister. And the reason is terrible. He contracted a tower mansion without telling me. What? So he found it? No. They couldn't find it, so they resorted to this as their last option. That's so foolish. My sister sighed. Now all that's left is to file the divorce. But I'm not sure what to do next. I have a good idea. What? Tell me. I was surprised by my sister's suggestion, but it seemed like a good idea. The next day, I submitted my resignation to the company. I enjoyed my job and wanted to continue. But the thought of being in the same space as my husband made me sick. They tried to keep me, but I explained the situation and they understood. Then, a week later, I was set to meet my sister at the airport. In the meantime, I got everything ready, and there was no contact from my husband or his family. See you at the airport tomorrow. Okay. Are you all set with your luggage? No problem. I disposed of everything I couldn't take while no one was at work. The next day, I filed the divorce papers and flew to England with my sister. I had only been to England once before on a trip with my late first husband. I was nervous, but equally excited. The mother-in-law might have realized it. But my husband faced a consequence too significant to imagine. The only regret I had was not being able to see his reaction when he realized it. This is your new home from today. Pretty nice, huh? Nice is an understatement. It's huge and wonderful. You can do whatever you like here now. Thank you. Honestly, the house was far more impressive than the tower mansion. My husband had contracted. The thought of starting a new life in this house filled me with excitement. 3 days after arriving in England. Hello? Susan? Stop, Kevin. I got a call from my mother-in-law, and she blurted that out as soon as I answered. I had expected them to contact me eventually, but I didn't think it would be her. Please calm down. He's been acting strange since you left. Acting strange? He tried to cancel the mansion contract and couldn't. And now it seems like he's not even coming home. My husband probably couldn't handle the reality and ran away. Even if that was the case, it had nothing to do with me anymore. That might be difficult for you, but it has nothing to do with me. Please solve your issues on your own. Hearing this, the mother-in-law lashed out in anger. It's all your fault for keeping secrets. Take responsibility. I took a deep breath. Don't blame me. It's his fault for going on a rampage. You're the worst. The worst ones are you guys. Anyway, what happens to you is none of my business. Goodbye. I hung up the phone. My sister approached me. Your ex-husband? No, his mother. It must be something trivial, right?
Yeah.
They're having trouble canceling the contract for the tower mansion. That's their fault. I said that, and she got mad. They're really stupid. We ended up laughing together. I had never had someone to share such stories with before. So it felt surprisingly good. That night, my sister and I celebrated with drinks until morning. Just as I thought it was time to sleep, my phone rang. Susan thought again? What a hassle. I thought it was the mother-in-law again, but when I checked, it was my ex-husband's name. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me, and I answered. What do you want? Where are you? Why? I want to come see you. I don't have any business with you. He didn't know where I was. He couldn't imagine that I wasn't in Japan anymore. I need to talk to you. Where are you? I can tell you, but I don't think you can come. Still want to know? What? What do you mean? Just tell me. I'm overseas now. Living with my sister. You can't come here, can you? My ex-husband seemed lost for words upon learning that I was abroad. By the way, I heard you're having trouble canceling the contract for the tower mansion? Yes, that's right. So, just to let you know, I won't do something as foolish as helping you. What? You're calling because you can't pay and want me to do something about it, right? This is all your fault. Then sue me? Though that would be futile. I provoked my ex-husband's emotions, intending to stir him up further and then end the call. Don't joke around. Whose fault is it that things turned out like this? Shall I tell you? It's your own. You brought this upon yourself by acting recklessly. If you had just told me where the inheritance was. I didn't tell you because I knew this would happen. You and your mother are just too greedy. That's not true. That's why you were so desperate to search the house, right? It's really unfortunate. Anyway, since you signed the contract, you'll have to work hard to pay for it yourself. I'm hanging up now. Wait. Just help me a little. Impossible. Realizing further conversation was a waste of time, I ended the call unilaterally. How pathetic he was. But how my ex-husband, now burdened with massive debts, would live was the only thing that intrigued me. After that, without any further contact, half a year had passed since I came to England. I'm thinking of going back to Japan. What about you? Maybe I should too. There are things I'm curious about. Then it's settled. We decided to return to Japan temporarily. I was curious about what had happened to my ex-husband and his mother. Upon returning, I headed straight to my former home. However, my husband wasn't there. Furthermore, when I went to the mother-in-law's house, it had been demolished and turned into a vacant lot. Well, that figures. Then someone called out to me from behind. It was a neighbor who knew my former mother-in-law. According to her, they had left in a hurry, resembling a midnight escape, just a few weeks ago. Well, that was to be expected. Next, I visited a friend. This friend was a former colleague from my company. Long time no see. Have you been well? From this friend, I learned about the current situation of my ex-husband and his mother. I can't believe that happened. Well, he contracted such an expensive mansion and even quit his job. Really? But that just makes things harder. Where is he now? I don't know exactly, but I heard he's in some remote countryside. With those two, I guess a normal life is difficult. You're pretty harsh. Well, we're divorced now. It seemed my guess was right, they were struggling. But the real hardship was probably yet to come. Thinking about it, I couldn't stop laughing. From now on, I'll live freely with my sister. I probably won't get married again, but that's fine. In England, I will fully enjoy my freedom.